I, Andrew Withers, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight? We will run, and we will live. Die, fight, and you may die. Run, and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds, many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
This is a special episode of the Second Amendment for Dummies. Why am I doing a special episode? Tomorrow, anyone who doesn't register their quote-unquote assault rifles will be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor, which means up to a year in jail. However, the secrecy has already started. When the state police were asked how many people had registered, they said that was privileged information from the state police database. They weren't asking for names, just the number. Welcome to the secret police era. Does anyone remember something called the KGB? California was the originator of gun registration. Let me tell you how that turned out. The Golden State passed a ban on certain semi-automatic firearms in 1989. Banned guns could be legally possessed if they were registered prior to the ban. In the spring of 1995, one man who wished to move to California, why he would want to do that, asked the Attorney General whether his SKS Sporter rifle would be legal in the state. The citizen was assured the rifle was legal, and based on that information, he subsequently moved into the state. But in 1998, the state's Attorney General reversed course and officials confiscated the firearm. In a legal brief before the state Supreme Court, Attorney General Daniel Lundgren said that tens of thousands of California citizens would have to either surrender their firearms or become felons. Having registered the firearms, the California Department of Justice issued a notice in 1999 to explain how more than 1,500 individuals in the state were in possession of illegal firearms, all of which were subject to forfeiture without compensation. Plans to confiscate firearms in California were leaked to the public in 1999, sending shockwaves through the gun rights community. The document entitled Relinquishment of Assault Weapons stated once the 90-day window of opportunity for turning in such assault weapons concludes, we will send each sheriff and police chief a listing of the affected individuals who own banned firearms. Gun registration has led to confiscation in several countries, including Greece, Ireland, Jamaica, and Bermuda. And in an exhaustive study on this subject, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership has researched and translated several gun control laws from foreign countries. Their publication, Lethal Laws, Gun Control is the Key to Genocide, documents how gun control and confiscation has preceded the slaughter and genocide of millions of people in Turkey, the Soviet Union, Germany, China, Cambodia, and others. And this isn't the first time New York has confiscated firearms. New York City, or as I like to call it, the de facto state capital, in the mid-1960s, officials in New York City began registering long guns. They promised they would never use such lists to take away firearms from honest citizens. But in 1991, the city banned and soon began confiscating many of those very guns. In 1992, a New York City paper reported that police raided the home of a Staten Island man who refused to comply with the city's tough ban on assault weapons and seized an arsenal of firearms. Spot checks were planned for other homes. So much for the Fourth Amendment. And I know what the gun control morons are going to say. They say they want licensing for guns like licensing for cars. They want gun owners to register their guns the way people register cars. And they want gun owners to have licenses like they do for cars. There are a few problems with that. First, cars aren't guns. Cars are more dangerous than guns. More people are killed in car accidents every year than with guns. There are 96,000 gun injuries per year, and 32,000 of those are fatal. There are 3 million injuries and 41,000 deaths per year from car accidents. Keep in mind the gun control statistics have dropped 45% since this study came out. There are 60 million gun owners who own 230 million guns in this country, and there are 210 million registered vehicles. Those rates come out to 0.00013 gun deaths per gun versus 0.00019 car deaths per car. Second, cars are not mentioned in the Constitution. Is this a worthless argument? Perhaps. But the fact is that the Second Amendment was important enough to be included at the beginning, and any licensing and registration is unconstitutional. They say that if we didn't license cars, there'd be more accidents. Who knows? I don't think that's necessarily the case. The fact is that with licensing and registration of cars, there are still many accidents, many injuries, many deaths. People speed all the time. They drive recklessly. They even drive after their licenses are taken away. You mean they do with cars what criminals do with guns? Think about this. When was the last time you got angry or upset at a bad driver who cut you off? Usually it's a gun control nut with his Obama bumper sticker. I don't need a license to buy a car. I don't need a license to drive a car on my private property. I don't need to register my car unless I want to drive on public land. Once I do register, I can take my car anywhere I want to go, including from state to state. If I register my gun, can I do that? They say we can't compare guns to cars because cars are useful. What about the 1 million plus people a year who use guns to save their own lives, to defend themselves against muggers, rapists, and murderers? In less than 8% of self-defense cases, the gun is fired. 92% of the time, just showing a gun to a would-be assailant is enough to dissuade them from their action. This is a discussion that has gone on a long time and yet has pretty much gotten nowhere. What it boils down to is that cars and guns are very different. But that doesn't prevent this analogy. It must be pointed out, though, that cars do not have to be registered. Really? Yes, as long as you're not driving it on public roads, as long as you drive only on private property, it doesn't need tags or registration. Obviously, this isn't the kind of gun registration scheme being pushed, that you have to be registered in order to use one on public property. But that's how it would be what it would be like if they did it like cars. Since we're discussing registration, let's ask what the purpose is. As the overwhelming majority of guns used in crime are illegal, stolen, black market, crooked dealers, smuggled, how is a gun registration going to prevent crime? Janet Reno claimed it was for safety reasons, so that in licensing owners we can verify they've taken safety courses. That was before the assault weapons ban. This seems pretty weak in that 20 times more people die in motor vehicle accidents than in gun-related accidents. Cuomo doesn't cite safety as his motivator, but crime. So again, how is gun registration going to lessen crime? Criminals don't register their guns. The one thing that it most facilitates is a follow-up ban. People who would not willingly admit gun ownership for a ban may very well do so for a comparatively harmless Gun Registration Act. Anti-gun activists know very well that a comprehensive ban in the United States is effectively impossible to enforce because the government doesn't know exactly where the guns are, nor should they. With only registration implemented first, it's a short, easy step to confiscation. And it's not without precedent. Washington, D.C., New York City, and California have all gone down that road.
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard. The smoke in the air of our Concord bridges and Pearl Harbors is always smelled first by the farmers who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight, because they know that sacred stuff resides in that wooden stock and blued steel, something that gives the most common man the most uncommon of freedoms. When ordinary hands can possess such an extraordinary instrument, that symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty. That's why those 5 words issue an irresistible call to us all, and we muster. So, as we set out this year to defeat the divisive forces that would take freedom away, I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice to hear and to heed. From my cold, dead hands.
I, Andrew Witherstone, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
Thanks for listening to the Second Amendment for Dummies. You can catch the show every Thursday. Have a good day.